Hey guys, it's May, and remember me telling you that I wanted to try to do a mini album with the flower punch board? I had an idea. Well, we're going to try to do that, and I wanted to use one of these burlap bags that I get from Creative Essentials. I actually got this sent to me from Springs Creative, I should say, and this is some of those that they sent me when they sent me that whole package of things to try out. And see how these burlap bags have this gusset? They're just gift bags. Let me open it up. It's just a gift bag like so, but it's very sturdy because it's made from that laminated burlap, and I thought I think I could turn this into a mini album. So I thought I might just take you guys along. What do you think? You want to travel with me as we do this? And I'm actually going to leave the handle because I want it to look like a gift bag. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut this area out. Now I want to tell you, I spent a lot of time doing some research on how to bind this guy, and I think I found the perfect way to do it. And the place that I found it was on a channel called Angel Wings 14100. I will link it below. You are probably going to want to go watch her video too, because this is how I learned it. I don't know if she learned it from somebody else, but she's the one that I saw do it. So we're going to use her method, or the one she taught, to do this mini album in a gift bag. The first thing I'm going to do is cut this guy open. Now, if you're nervous, just remember, if you cut this open and make a mistake and you decide you just can't do it, you can always use this burlap for something else. Don't panic. We can figure it out. But the first thing I want to do is cut through the middle at the already creased mark, you know, made by the fold of the bag. Also very important, you want to cut only one side, because you're going to, you're going to use the other side for the binding. So we're going to cut here first, like so. And so I'm cutting down one side and then across the bottom, but I'm not going to cut up the other side. And I'm going to open this out so I can make sure I've got my hand behind there, I can feel where I'm at. Put the point of my scissor there. Okay, so now I can open this. So see, you can already see the book sort of taking shape. Now I notice here I need to cut this away. So I will hold it back up, and I'm going to cut on that folded line. That's the cool thing about bags, is that kind of your cut lines are just already there for you. So there's one side. Let's do the other side. Okay. Now let's open it up and check it out. So now what we have in this center section is where we're going to put our binding. So I just want to look at that really well and see what I'm working with. Now I like the way this side did, but I'm not through with this side. I think I need to cut that one a little bit deeper. Not too much, but just a little bit. Let's see if that makes it better. Yes, it does. Okay, so I like this because I'm going to use this for my binding, like I said. And I also like how this has closed down so nice and neat, and so has this side. The only part it looks like I'm going to have to do some trimming on is this. And to be honest, that fold line is a perfect spot for me to trim again because it's already in there. I'm going to bring it around and show you. See this fold line? Just going to cut that away, like so. And I'm going to come on the other side and cut it away again. Just right where it already has the fold mark from the way it was folded up before. Check it out. I think I still want to get a little bit off of this side, because I want it to lay right before I ever start working with it. Just see those fibers fly? Check it out. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Now, one thing I'm not liking is how I'm fighting to keep this down. I think I'm going to run to my iron and iron that down. I think that will help. I wish I had one of those craft room irons, but I really think this needs to be ironed down. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, so as you can see, I've ironed it, and it lays super flat. And here's how I ironed it. First, I laid it down like this, and I ironed it like this. Then I switched these guys over and I ironed it like this, and then I opened it up flat and ironed these two pieces down on top of here. I did not, I want to show you, I did not put the iron on the laminated part. I didn't want to melt that away. So I only ironed on the burlap portion, but see how flat it lays now? That's awesome. Okay, now it is time to get into this binding system. The reason I chose the one that I did is because I didn't want to add bulk, because I knew this would be thick, and I wasn't sure how the bottom would end up, but I didn't want to add a bunch of bulk in this area. So I want to show you what we're going to do for this binding system. So I dug through my scraps and found this piece of chipboard that is big enough. See that? And if you don't have a piece of thick enough chipboard, you can always glue several pieces together. But this one's going to be fine. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to measure this piece. Now, I'm going to leave some clearance. I'm going to go underneath this fold mark. I don't really want to mess with that. I don't want to glue anything on it because it won't lay flat. So I'm going to go inside of that. And I'm thinking I might leave that same distance down here. So let's look. So how much is that? That is 3/4 of an inch. So if I lay my ruler here, that will take me to 8 3/4. So now I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper. I know this doesn't like scrap, but it came out of my scrap pile, so we're going to use it. And 8 3/4. That's how long. Make myself a note. And now the width will be fine to go exactly where this is, just right to the edge. I don't want to overlap. So the width of this, we're going to make it 2.5. That's a little bit shy, but I like that. So 2.5. The reason I like this binding system, because one is it doesn't have the bulk, but also I'm not going to have to attach this binding system to these pages. You'll see what I'm talking about as we get going. I'm going to cut this piece down to that measurement. So I have my piece cut to 8 3/4 by 2.5, and this is the bag. So this piece will now nestle right inside of here. Okay? So now we want to make our marks for our binding to start. But before I do that, to save myself a couple of steps, I'm going to go ahead and cover this in whatever paper I'm going to use on the inside. I have been dying to use this paper. And I know that it seems a little fancy for burlap, but I sure think it's going to work. We're going to try to make it work. I love this. This is the Couture pack from Graphic 45. Let's find a good centerpiece. Ooh, this would be pretty in there, wouldn't it? Because you're going to see this. So look through and find... Oh, this paper is gorgeous, isn't it? Okay, let's see, let's see. This is hard to decide. Ooh, I love this. Okay, keep looking. Oh, look at this blue. Look at this blue. I think I'm going to have to stop there. Love it. Okay, I'm going to take this piece out. I'm going to use this for a lot of different things, so I'm just go ahead and pull it out. The other cool thing with this binding system, let me move this out of the way. I hope you guys don't mind just kind of coming along with me, because look, we're being awful messy. Okay, the other thing I like is the measurements are going to be pretty simple, because I'm going to cut this down to the same size. So I'm going to come here and cut it down to 2.5. It's going to be the same size as that piece of cardboard. So 2.5 by 8 3/4. Okay, so I have this piece and I have this piece. Now I just realized something. I wanted to go ahead and cover this, but I can't. That's part of the binding system. I have to leave them separate, and I'll show you why. So here's this piece. I'm going to move this one aside because I'm not going to do anything with it just yet, but I do have to work with this piece now. On this piece, I'm going to do some scoring. Okay? And I don't remember if this is exactly how she did it, but I think this is right, so I'm going to do it this way. What I'm going to do first is score in 1/2 inch on either end. This is really just to give me a reference mark. Okay, now this is 8 3/4. I mean, this is 2.5. So what I'm going to do is decide, let's see. I'm going to put 4 pages in here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score at the 1/2 inch mark. I know she did hers a little different than this, but I have to do this so I can know what I'm doing. At every 1/2 inch, I'm going to score. Okay. Now what this is going to create for us at the top is some intersections between that 1/2 inch we scored this way and these lines that we did this way. Let me see if you can see it better on the back side. Maybe. they intersect here. Now I'll show you what we're going to do. To make this really clear, I'm going to try to make it really clear because I don't want it to be clear as mud, you know what I'm saying? Okay. On this piece of paper that I have already cut, at those intersecting points, which you might not can see, let me see if I draw them in with pencil. Now I think you can see those. That's where they intersect. I'm going to take my Crop-A-Dile on the small hole punch. This is the 1/8 inch punch. And I'm going to punch through where those intersect. Right where they cross. So there's one. I totally did not make that mark in the right place. I'm glad I was just showing you that for example and not actually using it. So see, I have these 4 holes here, and now I'm going to do the same thing on this end where they intersect. Now what these 4 holes create for us is basically a stopping point, okay? Because now we're going to do some cutting. I'm using my cutting mat, my Tim Holtz ruler with the metal edge, and my X-Acto knife. And now, on that score line, I'm going to cut. If you want to, you can put this into your cutter and just put the blade into the hole, and that'll be fine. But I'm using a rotary cutter and it just won't work quite the same. Go slow, pressure on the ruler, take your time, okay? Because this needs to be done correctly. Let's do another one. Good enough. Let's do the next one. Right through the center. On your score line. If you need to, you can always mark that score line so you can see it because you're going to cut through it anyway. And you're just using those holes as stopping point, which I think is so smart. And now you have this. It looks like a mess, but it's not, I promise. Okay, so I have my backing piece for my binder. I have this piece for the top. I'm going to move these out of the way for just a second. And we're going to start on the next part, which is the pages. Alright, so we're going to need the bag for this. I'm going to bring this back over here. And this is going to be my binding system. It's going to go right here, okay? So I need to measure how wide I can have my pages. So here's what I'm going to do that. I'm just going to close this down for a second. And I'm going to measure from this seam to this seam, the inside seams. And why I'm doing that is because I want my pages to stop at that inside seam, and that is 7 inches. I'm so glad it's an even number. So that's awesome. So I know my pages can be 7 inches wide. Okay, so let me write that down. Same scrap paper, pages. 7 inches. Y'all like this chicken scratch? Okay. Now then, move this out of the way again. I'm going to bring this guy back over, and now I'm going to measure here between my holes, and that is 7 3/4. Okay, so my pages can be 7 3/4 by 7. All right, so I'm going to write that down. So 7 inches wide, 7 3/4 tall. All right, so now let's cut some pages. I'm a big fan of craft paper, so I'm going to use the craft paper to go with the burlap look to add those colors to. So the first cut I'm going to make is the 7 3/4. The reason is I want to double check and make sure this will slide in to my binding system. So this is 7 3/4. Let's bring our binder over. And I'm going to make sure that this will slide in. And it does. So I'm good where that measurement is concerned because I can get it in there, okay? Now what I want to do is make use of that flower punch board. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do some scoring, okay? And the first score I'm going to do is 1/2 inch from this side over here because this is going to tuck in to my binder, my binding system, okay? Now I want to score at 7 inches because I know I do not want my page any wider than 7 inches, okay? So there's your scores. Now I'm going to move this out of the way again. I have stuff just teetering over here. My room is a wreck. Okay. Now I'm going to bring my flower punch board in. And I'm going to line this score line up right next to that little piece. Right next to it, okay? Where it will punch through the middle of that. And then I'm going to punch. Now I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing. Right next to that little piece, using my score line, and punch. Now what I'm going to do is show you that this has now made a flap for my book page. Isn't that cool? And I can do whatever I want with this, okay? And here's what I think I'm going to do first. I am going to round this corner with my corner chopper on the 1/2 inch. So I'm going to come right in here and round it. And right in here and round it. Now, I can use this piece, this flap, for anything, and who knows what we'll end up using it for. I do not know yet, but I am going to burnish it. Okay, so there's that. I also want to fold this score line and burnish it. Okay. This is what my pages are going to look like. Now my binder will hold 4 pages of that size. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 3 more just like I did this. Okay? Now with you guys watching, I'm going to attempt to do them all at the same time. This is 3 pieces of cardstock. Cutting it to 7 3/4. So I'm cutting the short side first and leaving my length. Okay. So there's that. Now I'm going to score them. And I will have to score them separately. No big deal. So I'm going to score it at 7 1/2. Okay, so there's that first scored. If you struggle with that 1/2 inch mark on the inside, like if you have fingers like mine that don't want to place that in a good spot for you, come out here and score it a 1/2 inch in, then flip it around and score it at 7. That might make things easier. Okay, so the scoring for our 3 pages is done. Now we'll do the punching. Now I'm seriously lazy, okay? So I'm going to corner punch these all at the same time. Okay. Now I can't punch them all at one time in my flower board, so I'll just do them one at a time. I just think this makes the flap look really nice. That little piece in there, I just like it. It is so hot in my craft room, y'all. Ugh. And I leave the door shut so I can film in quiet. If I leave it open, my dog will inevitably start barking. Now let's fold this edge up. And I'm going to go ahead and score it both ways so that the page will turn correctly. Alright, so I'm going to bring this back over. So far this is pretty easy, isn't it? Okay, so we have our page, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this into here, and I'm going to use wet glue. And you may not want to use wet glue, but I feel like for this binder it needs to be wet. If you have a glue that you prefer, by all means use that glue. So I'm going to use some tacky glue from Aleene's. I get probably one of the biggest questions that I think we get as crafters is what glue to use. I say when you don't know for sure, use wet glue. That's what I say. If you're not sure that it's going to stay together with a peel and stick type adhesive, use your wet glue because you know that'll work. We're going to slip this in, and the one thing that I saw from Angel Wings tutorial that's very important is you want to make sure that your score line is not in the fold, but at the fold. This will give you room for that paper to bend. So see how easy that flips? So make sure your score line is right outside of the fold. Give yourself a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to close this down now and do the next one. I personally don't think it takes a terrible long time for Aleene's to dry. I think it dries really good, really quick. So I like to use it. If you have another favorite, you go for it. I know the Scotch Quick Dry is really good glue also. So you can always use that one. The only thing I find with the Scotch Quick Dry that I don't love, y'all tell me if this is just me, it doesn't seem to ever 100% dry. It seems to stay tacky. And I feel that way about Tombow also. It seems to stay tacky for a really long time. And that's not my favorite. Okay, so there's that one. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I'm putting the glue so that it goes on the underneath of our hinge flap. The reason is when we glue this to our other piece, it'll glue all those other parts down. That'll make more sense when we do it. Didn't sound very sensible coming out of my mouth. Okay. Check the fold. Line your pages up and seal that down. Now the last one. I'm going to flip this over so you can see what's basically happened. Do you see how those pages have just tucked inside of that? Isn't that awesome? Check it out. Now when we glue this down, there'll be virtually no bulk. Okay, so here's what I was talking about, how these pieces would get glued down too. I'm going to heavily glue this side. Not going to be shy with my glue. Now I don't want to do so much that it just squirts everywhere. But I'm going to make sure there's glue everywhere. You do not want it to kind of squirt out, but you do want to get a good even coverage. And once you get glue on it, you can go back without squeezing and just kind of move it around. So I'm not really squeezing, I'm just moving around what I've already got here and wiping off the excess off the tip. Alright, and now we will put this piece, our chipboard piece, onto that piece, just lining it up exactly even. I'm going to flip this over so you can see that. See how that just totally hides in there? And now both sides of our pages are secured inside of that hinge system. How great, guys, right? I love it. Now then, we're going to put another page. I'm going to go ahead and close these down on each other. Just like this. So it'll be, my album's going to be like this. I'm going to have my flaps open this way. Okay, so now what I want to show you is how this will fit into our bag. So here's our bag. Okay, and remember I cut this to go right underneath that flap, so it's going to go just like that. Okay, and I will glue it down. Now here's the thing, I'm going to decorate these completely separate, these sides, and I'm going to show you all that. But what I love about this is we can now add a page under here on both sides as well. So let's cut one of those real quick. Now first things first, we're going to have to measure. I know that I don't want to be any longer than my binding piece. So I know my height is 8 3/4. Okay, so this sheet is going to be 8 3/4 by 7. And I'm not going to put a flap on this sheet. I think I'm just going to use it flat, but I'm also going to use some of that pretty paper. So let's see. And this is two-sided, so I want to pick one that's going to look good on both sides. Ugh, I love this. I love that. I love it all. I love all this paper. I think I'm going to use this because I think I can mat on top of this and it'll look really good. So I'm going to need 2 pieces of this because of the measurements I'm having to cut. I'm going to go ahead and cut these. So what will be left for these will be some scraps for use throughout the book. I'm going to cut this down. We know the height is the height of our binder, which is 8 3/4. So we're going to cut it at 8 3/4 for the height. Now this is important. Although your page can be 7 inches wide, okay, you still got to add that 1/2 inch for it to go underneath the binder. So we're going to cut this at 7 1/2 inches wide. So there's our 2 pages cut. Now we need to score again. I'm going to score that 1/2 inch. Now what I'm going to do, because these pages are going to be like this, okay, I'm going to score 1/2 inch on this side of one. Okay. And then I'm going to score 1/2 inch on this side of the other one. So they'll lay correctly. Does that make sense? Because your book, you want this up and this up. Make sense? Okay. So I'm going to bring this back over. And first things first, I want to fold those score lines nice and snug. I'm folding both ways so that they will fold well. Let's do this guy. And this guy. Okay. So now let me show you what I mean by this. Okay. You want to check the back of your paper. Here's why. If this was upside down, it would be very bad. So you want to make sure you put the score lines on the right side so when you flip this, it's right on both sides. Okay? Before I glue it in place, I'm going to round these corners. These pieces get glued right to the edge of this. So I'm going to put a little glue here. Just right along this edge. Don't worry, this is going to be hidden. And I'm going to lay this to it. Again, making sure that it can fold well, even if you want to pick it up and do it like that, because this way I know that I'll get a good fold. So there's one. Now I'll flip my pages over and do the other side. Y'all see me shaking? I'm a shaker. I told y'all. It's what I do. Okay. So now what we have is a book all in and of itself. Do you see that? How great and easy is that? So simple. Now we're going to put it into our gift bag. This is a quick project, isn't it? Y'all see how fast this is going? Because I'm just doing this right now while we're together. Now I'm going to glue this in using plenty of glue. Lots of glue. Okay. Now then, making sure that the page is upright, I'm going to push this up against that seam at the top. Make sure I've got it centered. And press that into place. Now this is going to have to dry, so we're going to stop this tutorial here. Okay, we've done our binding, we've done our pages, we've used the flower punch. Look at that, love it. Angel Wings 14100. I won't put her link below because I want you guys to go see it. I think this is a great way to do this, because I really have been wanting to make this. I just didn't know exactly how to do it. So there is our center portion. Okay? So now when we get these firm and everything, look what's going to happen. How cute! It's going to be precious. Okay, I hope you guys are enjoying it. Let me know what you think. If there's any questions, ask me below and I will answer them. Anything you want me to show you how to do in the next one. Friday, we will start working on these portions out here, because I'm going to use chipboard and some more paper and blah, blah, blah. So there you go. That's the beginning. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys on Friday for more of this gift bag tutorial. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.